Hey guys, it's Bailey O'Brien here, and I used to be in the camp of patients who believe that the government and the United States, my country, the world, would protect me and provide for me. Um, I've come a long way since then. I've learned a little bit more, and especially about the politics of medicine. I started reading this book today called World Without Cancer. It's by Edward Griffin. He's a speaker who I heard at the Truth About Cancer Live a couple weeks ago in Orlando, Florida. And he was a guy kind of like me who didn't really like to get into politics of things, especially about cancer, because it's a touchy subject. But it's something that I think I need to know. It's something that he realized that he needed to learn about in order to help people who have cancer because unless you understand why treatments aren't offered in the United States or in your country, wherever you live, it can be hard to accept that you have to go outside the country or hard to accept that they are effective. Um, so I just want to give you a little bit of history about um, cancer treatments and the FDA, which approves drugs for use in the public, and a couple of reasons why either you haven't heard about an effective cancer treatment or drugs have gotten approved that should never be approved because they're not safe or proven effective. Um, include biased media reporting. You may have heard of the actor Steve McQueen. Well, he had cancer in the 80s and he went to Mexico for treatment and he ended up passing away. And the media reported that, oh, his treatments in Mexico, the Laetrile that he took, caused him to die and the treatments were not effective. When in reality, according to this book, he was healing of his cancer and he had very little cancer left. He had this small tumor in his abdomen left and he had surgery to remove it for cosmetic reasons, and he passed away as a result of complications of the surgery. And so the media reported that Laetrile is ineffective and it's dangerous and it shouldn't be used when that's simply not true. There was a study done at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York, and it showed that Laetrile was actually helpful in managing the effects of cancer. And there was a big cover-up about it. There was a documentary called Second Opinion that you could look up and watch if you're interested in learning more about it. You could also read this book. There's more information about it too, but I didn't get that far because it's pretty big. But not only that, the FDA it hires advisors who have financial ties to the pharmaceutical companies that produce the drugs that are seeking approval. So these ties could include speaker fees. The people working for the FDA could have stock ownership, and they could also have research grants. According to this book on page 26, more than 50% of the advisors to the FDA have these financial ties to the pharmaceutical industry, which is a lot, and that's very bad. So there's a lot of dishonesty in drug testing, and we may never know the full extent of it. In some cases, it's very hard to know when there's been dishonesty. But two of the former FDA commissioners testified saying that there was such incredible dishonesty in testing these drugs for approval, including withholding unfavorable data. If there's results that don't support the showing that a drug is effective and safe, then they'll just throw it out or they won't include it in the study. Sometimes the information that they provide on patients in the trial, they use people who have died, or they use people who weren't even getting the treatments. They include people who weren't even present in the hospital at the time of the study. And this sounds similar to Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez's experience. He wrote a whole book called What Went Wrong when his treatment therapy was tested against a control group. And this was funded by, I think it was the National Cancer Institute. I'll correct it if I'm wrong. Um, but yeah, so his therapy was touted as ineffective because he was not given a good group of patients, or there were patients who died before they even started the study, and yet they were included in the results. So there's a lot of forces at work to try to prevent the truth from coming out, and that's something that's really important to know. So I hope you will do your thorough investigation of any treatments that you or your doctor believe you should have for cancer treatment or any kind of ailment or disease management, because the data may not be true, or it may be misinterpreted, or it may be um, portrayed in a certain light that is just not true. There was a doctor, Dr. Ivy, in, I think it was, yeah, the 1960s. So he was really well respected. He got several medals from the American Medical Association for his excellence in medicine. He started using an alternative kind of treatment for cancer called crebbiozin, and then he became called a quack because he wasn't using conventional therapies. And he went on trial, and there was a doctor who was called to testify against him who had written a letter saying that he had used the crebbiozin on a patient and it didn't work. And when the guy testified and he read the letter, he wasn't very convincing. Upon cross-examination, they found that the guy actually broke down and he admitted that he never even wrote the letter. Someone from the FDA wrote it, and he signed it because he wanted to protect people from quacks. Then the FDA published information that the crebbiozin was basically the same as creatine, and they even put up a picture. They published a picture in Life magazine comparing like an overlap of I think it's called a spectrogram of the crebbiozin compared with the creatine, and they laid them on top of each other and they look like they're the same. But when another doctor, a well-respected doctor who's an expert in spectrometry, spectrograms, when an expert in spectrograms actually did his own observation of the crebbiozin compared with creatine, he found that there were actually 29 differences between them in color and arrangement. And so it was totally falsified. Yet it was published in Life magazine, and how could you come back after something like that is published in a magazine with such a big audience? You can't. So that the FDA just has a long history of corruption and dishonesty that you need to know about. There's lots of things that we may believe to be true that are not true, and the opposite may be true as well. We may be told that something is not true when it really is. So I hope that you will have, as always, an investigator's mindset, or an investigative journalist, as I like to think, and do your research, know what you know, and always have hope. If you're seeking healing, there's something out there for you, and ultimately it's in God's hands, and with Him, all things are possible for those who believe. So that's it for now. I hope you have a great day, and can't wait to talk to you soon.